This Guy's Garage. Like and subscribe.
To all the witnesses for your appearance today. Largely, Mr. Rosenburg, you're going to be the beneficiary of all my questions today. On May the 2nd, you appeared before the Ethics Committee, and you were asked by a Liberal member of that committee at that time as to whether or not there's been any interference by the government and the Prime Minister in connection with the donation that we're talking about. Your response was, I'm not aware of any communication with the Prime Minister, his office, or other bodies within the government regarding this matter. And further on, that same Liberal member, actually it wasn't a Liberal member, it was an NDP member, Mr. Green, asked you this question. Ms. Fournier stated that she remembers reviewing emails between the Executive Director, Elise Comtois, and the PMO. Were you aware of those emails? Your response, I don't recall, but I will say, just to go back, that if there were emails and there were documents that raised questions about this stuff, why didn't the Foundation management call me to at least get my view on it so I could see the stuff? So I just want to ask you a few questions regarding those statements, because firstly, I find it incredible that you would say to the committee that you weren't aware of any sort of communication happening between the Foundation and the Prime Minister's office, the PMO, specifically when Pascal Fournier indicated that there were numerous emails going on between the Foundation and the PMO. Now, in terms of the organization chart, Ms. Elise Comtois was the Executive Director, and she reported directly to you as President of the Foundation, correct?
Correct.
Right. So I'm looking at one of those emails dated November the 24th, 2016, from Elise Comtois directly to Zita Astravaz, a executive member of the Prime Minister's office, and it starts off by follows. Hi, Zita, as requested by the PMO. Please find below the key facts that we have been providing to the media who have contacted us regarding the 200,000 donation from Bin Zhang and New Ginshing. And you're saying to us, to the committee then, as you're probably going to say to me now, that you were absolutely not aware of that particular piece of communication.
I don't believe that piece of communication was in the package, the access package. Certainly, I was not aware of it at the time that I gave this testimony. I think I said it was possible that there was communication, asking...
Sir, with all due respect, you didn't say it was possible. You said you weren't aware, and that you were shocked that if there were communication, why wasn't it brought to your attention? So I'm asking the obvious question that everyone has here, really, what is going on at the Foundation that a person in the title of Executive Director who has to report directly to you is communicating directly with the PMO? Let's remember, the Prime Minister is on record, as well as his government, numerous times stating in the House that there was a firewall at all times between he and the government and the Foundation. This strikes definitely against that particular narrative. So why was that happening, and why were you not aware?
First of all, this happened 8 years ago. Second of all, part of my answer was, if there were records at the Foundation that demonstrated this, why in the weeks leading up to the resignations did nobody contact me? Madame Fournier was not at the Foundation while these events happened. I was. But I had no idea what was going on at the Foundation, and I would have... Well, that is your view, and I disagree with it. I was at the Foundation rather than, deciding to... I don't know why they resigned. I think it would have been helpful if someone had called me and said, can you come in and talk about this? Because I think there is a very innocent set of explanations for everything that went on in relation to this donation.
Okay, sir, I got to move on. Thank you. As well, Pascal Fournier testified at the Ethics Committee. She said, quote, her predecessor, Maurice Rosenburg, told the National Post in December 2016 that the Foundation didn't consider the donation to be foreign money because it was made by a company incorporated in Canada. She told MPs that this was actually a statement in the annual report, when in fact the tax receipt itself mentions China. Her belief, I think this is something that is misleading to Canadians. Now, with respect to the documentation that this committee or other committees have actually received from the foundation, I was privy to a business banking statement from the foundation. This is the Bank of Montreal, and this is in regards to the first installment that was received on July the 25th, 2016. And I would well imagine your response is going to be, well, I'm the president. I didn't see these statements, so I took it at face value that this was a Canadian donation, when in fact it's clearly spelt out, Mr. Rosenburg, that on July the 25th, this was an international donation, clearly stated in black and white, international donation credit to the credit of the foundation at the Bank of Montreal for $70,000. You're not aware of this particular banking statement, is that correct, sir?
Particular banking statement. I don't believe it was part of the package. And if I could just, answer, because there was an allegation about discrepancies between the name of the, on the tax receipt and the name that was put into the annual report. And I was basically accused of misleading Canadians in this regard. And I'd like to know, what's the nature of the deception? We acknowledged that two wealthy Chinese businessmen, instead of a corporate vehicle through which they made the payment, actually were instrumental in this. And I think we did this in a way that was more transparent than if we put the name of the Millennium Corporation into the report. The annual report is very forthright about the fact that there are Chinese donors behind the donation. And at the same
CRA.
Mr. Brock, I'm afraid that is your time. Mr. Rosenburg, I think we're going to pick this up again. Turning now to our next round. Mr. Brock, you have the floor for 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Rosenburg, would you agree with me that the foundation prides itself on its highest ethical and moral standards?
Yes.
Okay. You'd agree with me, sir, that in the last couple of years, that perception has been rocked a little bit. Firstly, we have the Beijing influence, we have the questionable donation to the foundation, and most recently we've got a $1.25 million lawsuit launched by a former scholar of the foundation involving a mentor. You'd agree with me that that sort of compromises its overall image?
It's certainly not helpful.
No. So, Mr. Rosenburg, I'd like to ask you some questions. This lawsuit was launched March 31st, 2022. I understand the foundation has yet to file a defense. Is that your understanding?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because I'm not a defendant in this lawsuit.
I see. And to your knowledge, sir, is there a concurrent criminal investigation as well?
I have no knowledge of that.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions regarding some of the commentary within the statement of claim itself. According to the plaintiff, she reports the harassment to the foundation and is immediately disbelieved. Specifically, sir, she brought this to your attention June the 11th, 2018. You contacted her, requested to speak with her in relation to the allegation. June 22nd, you spoke by phone. During the call, you accused the plaintiff of, quote, blowing things out of proportion. You questioned her about the incidents, demanding to know if it was a, quote, familiar squeeze, a sexual squeeze, or a caress. Do you recall making that statement?
Are you reading from the plaintiff's statement of claim?
I am indeed.
To which no defense has yet been filed?
I'm asking, do you acknowledge?
No, I do not.
Do you acknowledge speaking with the plaintiff?
I do.
In and around that time frame,
Yes.
Regarding this allegation?
Yes.
All right.
But I
so
don't.
You deny telling her that you did not believe her, or
Absolutely.
questioning her with respect to the allegations.
I asked her, but I certainly didn't deny that I didn't deny what she was saying.
Okay. Do you deny that the foundation, including several board members, pressured this plaintiff in signing a non-disclosure agreement, not once, but on 2 occasions?
I can't speak to that because I believe that those things happened after I left the foundation.
Okay. And during the time that you were the president of the foundation, because you signed the agreement between this particular plaintiff and the mentor, I understand that there was no sexual harassment policy in place at the foundation. Is that correct?
That's correct. There were no sexual harassment policies in a lot of organizations as we started
I'm not
to
talking
learn
about other
more.
organizations, sir. With all due respect,
yes, I
I'm
answered
talking
your
about the
question.
Trudeau Foundation.
I answered your question.
Yes, Ms. Shanahan.
This is outside the scope of this study, and I think it's very inappropriate for this line of questioning to continue. This is not a courtroom. This is a committee. And I believe it's entirely inappropriate.
Mr. Genuis, thank you. So, Ms. Shannon, the questions are being asked forcefully but respectfully. Mr. Rosenburg is answering them. I'm going to continue to allow Mr. Brock his line of questioning. As you know, I give members latitude to ask questions, provided they are respectful. So, Mr. Brock, you have the floor again.
So, before I was interrupted, sir, on a point of order, which was not really a point of order, I asked you about focusing in your responses to the foundation. Now, you signed the agreement. There was no sexual harassment policy for the scholar and no sexual harassment policy for the mentor, correct?
There was no sexual harassment policy, correct.
And do you acknowledge that the foundation is doing everything within its legal mandate to block this case from being heard? It was originally brought in British Columbia, then it was brought to Newfoundland, where the allegations are allegedly to have occurred, and now you're suggesting, or at least the foundation is suggesting, that this be litigated in the province of Quebec. Do you acknowledge the foundation is doing that to her as well?
I have not worked for the foundation since 2018, and I am not familiar with all the strategies the foundation is using.
Are you not familiar with the news stories that are coming out with respect to these allegations, sir?
I have
you not
seen,
been privy to that?
Well, I have seen the news stories.
You haven't been speaking to current board members?
About this, no.
About this particular allegation?
No.
Okay. During your tenure, sir, there was some questionable activities surrounding your dismissal. Was this in relation to how poorly you handled this complaint?
I addressed this at the other committee. So let me talk about this for a second, if you don't mind, because this really goes to my reputation. There was an intimation at the committee that I was fired. The chair of the other committee asked Madame Fournier whether I was fired. She said, gee, I don't know. I would suggest that she knows very well. Here is what happened. I had a 4-year contract with the foundation that ended in 2018. I lived in Ottawa and was commuting back and forth. In April of 2017, more than a year before I was supposed to leave, I told the chair that I did not want to renew my contract. I had very good evaluations all through, and I gave him more than a year's notice because I wanted the foundation to have the opportunity to have a proper process to find a successor, which they did, and they found Madame Fournier to be the successor. Madame Fournier and I then had an opportunity of overlap for several weeks to get her accustomed to the foundation. So I was absolutely not fired. There was a very nice going away party for me, a very nice gift that I got from some of the directors.
Mr. Jonas, that's not necessary.
No, that's another gift.